The rain poured heavily outside, and thunder echoed through the night. In a small house on the edge of town, a 70-year-old mother sat alone by the window, staring at the front door. Her eyesight had grown weak with age, but her hope remained strong. Her only son, Michael, was the center of her world. After her husband passed away when Michael was just a child, she worked tirelessly to raise him. She cleaned houses during the day, worked extra shifts at a diner at night, and often skipped meals so her son could have everything he needed. Every sacrifice she made was for his future. When Michael was little, he would wrap his tiny arms around her and say, "Mom, when I grow up, I'll take care of you. I'll never leave you alone." Those words became her greatest treasure. Years passed. Michael graduated from college, landed a successful job, and eventually married. At first, he called often and visited whenever he could. But as time went on, the calls became shorter, the visits became rare, and eventually he moved to another state with his wife. His mother never complained. Every morning she made a cup of coffee and looked out the window, hoping to see his car pull into the driveway. Every holiday she cooked his favorite meals, setting an extra plate at the table just in case he surprised her with a visit. But he never came. When neighbors asked about Michael, she always smiled. "He's doing great. He's very busy with work." No one knew how many nights she cried herself to sleep after saying those words. One evening, she opened an old photo album. She carefully turned the pages, smiling through tears. There was Michael on his first day of school. Michael riding his first bicycle. Michael hugging her after winning an award. She touched the photos gently as if she could somehow reach through time and hold her little boy again. Meanwhile, Michael was living what many would call a perfect life. He had a beautiful house, a successful career, and financial security. Yet he rarely thought about how lonely his mother had become. Then one afternoon, his phone rang. It was a neighbor from his hometown. "Michael," the voice said softly, "your mom is very sick. If you want to see her, you should come now." The words hit him like a truck. Without hesitation, he grabbed his keys and began the long drive home. The entire journey was filled with painful memories. He remembered his mother waiting outside school in the rain. He remembered her staying awake all night when he had a fever. He remembered every birthday cake she baked and every sacrifice she made. For the first time in years, he realized how much he had taken her love for granted. When he finally arrived, the house looked exactly the same. The porch light was on. The curtains were drawn. Everything felt frozen in time. He rushed inside and found his mother lying in bed. She looked frail and weak, but when she saw him, her eyes lit up. "Michael," she whispered. He dropped to his knees beside her. "Mom, I'm so sorry," he cried. "I should have come sooner. I should have called more. I should have been here." Tears streamed down his face. His mother slowly lifted her trembling hand and placed it on his cheek. "My son," she said softly, "a mother's heart never stops loving." Michael sobbed uncontrollably. She smiled faintly. "Do you remember when you promised you'd never leave me alone?" The question shattered him. Every missed phone call, every canceled visit, every excuse, every moment he chose something else over spending time with her. The weight of those years crashed down on him all at once. "I remember," he whispered. His mother nodded gently. "It's okay. I'm just happy I got to see you one more time." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then she added quietly, "No matter how old you become, you'll always be my little boy." A tear rolled down her cheek. Moments later, her breathing grew slower. Michael held her hand tightly. "Mom, please stay." But life does not stop for regrets. With a peaceful smile on her face, she took her final breath. The room became unbearably quiet. Michael sat there for hours, holding her hand, wishing he could turn back time. He would have traded every promotion, every dollar, and every success for just one more day with her. But some opportunities never come twice. That night, Michael learned a painful truth. The people who love us the most are often the ones we assume will always be there. And sometimes, by the time we realize their value, all we have left are memories, photographs, and a heart full of regrets. Red Heart Wilted Flower. When Emily was 10 years old, her world fell apart. Her mother passed away after a long illness, leaving behind a heartbroken daughter and a grieving husband. The small house that had once been filled with laughter suddenly felt cold and empty. For months, Emily cried herself to sleep. Every night she hugged her mother's sweater because it still carried her scent. She missed the bedtime stories, the warm hugs, and the comforting words that made everything feel safe. Her father, David, struggled too. He worked long hours and found it difficult to manage the house while caring for Emily. 2 years later, he met a woman named Susan and eventually married her. At first, Susan seemed kind. She smiled often and told everyone she would love Emily like her own daughter. But after the wedding, everything changed. The warmth disappeared, the smiles became fake, and Emily slowly became invisible in her own home. Susan had a daughter named Chloe who was the same age as Emily. Chloe received new clothes, expensive gifts, and endless attention. Emily, however, was treated differently. When guests visited, Susan acted like the perfect stepmother. "Emily is just like my own child," she would say. But behind closed doors, the truth was very different. Emily cleaned the house while Chloe watched television. Emily washed dishes while Chloe played with friends. Emily wore old clothes while Chloe received new outfits every season. Whenever Emily tried to tell her father what was happening, Susan always had an explanation. "She's exaggerating. She's acting out. She's jealous of Chloe." Over time, David began believing his wife. That hurt Emily more than anything. The one person she thought would protect her no longer listened. Years passed. Emily became quieter and quieter. She stopped sharing her feelings. She stopped asking for help. She learned to carry her pain alone. One winter evening, Emily was cleaning the kitchen when she found an old photo of her mother tucked inside a drawer. She stared at it for a long time. Tears filled her eyes. "I miss you, Mom," she whispered. At that moment, Susan walked into the room. "What are you doing standing around?" she snapped. Emily quickly wiped her tears and returned to work. That night, she sat by her bedroom window looking at the stars. For the first time, she made a promise to herself. One day she would build a better life. One day she would prove that her worth was not defined by how others treated her. She studied harder than ever before. While everyone slept, she worked on school assignments. While others doubted her, she kept moving forward. Years later, her hard work paid off. Emily earned a scholarship to a prestigious university. The acceptance letter arrived in the mail on a bright spring morning. When she opened it, she couldn't stop crying. For the first time in years, they were tears of happiness. She was finally leaving the sadness, leaving the unfair treatment, leaving the house that never truly felt like home. On the day she packed her bags, her father stood quietly by the door. As he looked at his daughter, he noticed something he had ignored for years. The sadness in her eyes, the loneliness she had carried, the strength she had developed despite everything had suffered. "Emily," he said softly, "I'm sorry." She looked at him. "For what?" "For not seeing what you were going through." The words broke something inside both of them. Years of pain came rushing to the surface. Emily hugged her father and cried. He cried too. Some wounds never completely heal. But acknowledgement can begin the process. As Emily drove away toward her new future, she looked at the sky and smiled. In her heart, she imagined her mother watching over her, proud, loving, and finally at peace. Sometimes the people who hurt us become chapters in our story. But they do not get to write the ending. The ending belongs to us. Red Heart Wilted Flower.